The date is October 18th, 2002, at around 6:40 p.m. in the evening. A married couple has just given birth to their second child. Little did they know that this child would spend the next 18 years of their life in near constant misery. This is the life of Ian Crow, the life spent in constant adversity. After being brought home from the hospital, my older brother would show a seemingly undying love towards me for about 2 weeks. Until he made a shocking revelation. I was there to stay. Of course, he was still kind to me for another 2 years after that, but once it was clear that I could understand him clearly, my now 4-year-old brother began to bully a now 2-year-old me. This would result in me having very low self-esteem, something that still somewhat haunts me to this very day, though I suppose it's mostly the fault of my depression now. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. My brother and I were sent to a woman's house every day for a daycare of sorts. We called the woman that ran it Nanny. I mean, her name was Nancy, so we weren't too far off. We would stay in this daycare until I was 3, where I would be entered into a pre-K program offered at my grandparents' church. Overall, the first 4 years of my life were near constant bliss. This would stay the same up until I was 5, as 2 months after my birthday that year, my paternal grandmother would pass away. As my brother and I were informed of the news, I would see my father and brother crying, while I merely stood there, completely emotionless. The concept of death wouldn't mean a thing to me until several months later, when my paternal grandfather passed away during the summer, just after my graduation from the aforementioned pre-K. He also had a serious battle with Alzheimer's, and in the end, he forgot who my brother and I were. The next hurdle I'd face was set to cost me 13 years of my life. I was set to enter grade school on the gifted track, as my brother was tested during his 2nd grade year, so my parents thought of having me tested as well. However, the ripples of grief would begin to impact me. I was supposed to skip kindergarten outright. Yeah, I was one of those gifted kids. Lots of potential. Of course, I wasn't able to do this because I was now grieving my deceased grandparents. And it was really costing me to the point where my parents felt that I was no longer able to skip kindergarten. This grieving would seemingly last my entire time in elementary school, as I found myself crying often at home for seemingly no reason at all. But the truth about this wouldn't become evident to me until years later. I would go on to excel in my classes throughout my entire time in elementary school up until I was 8 during my 2nd grade year, where some new behaviors would begin to develop out of seemingly nowhere. Though in hindsight, the signs were there as early as when I was 5. My mother was the first to notice them. These behaviors would turn out to be the result of my first mental illness, ADHD. I was already taking the medication Risperdal, but later switched to Focalin, and would go right back to excelling in my classes just in time for 3rd grade. I even ended up reaching what was essentially the top 2% of my class at that time, a status I would continue to hold throughout the rest of my time in elementary school. Unfortunately, I was also a bit racist for a time somewhere in there, but that's the way in the past. And all that really needs to be said is that I was raised in a Republican state in the early to mid 2000s under the Bush administration, so I was not really properly educated about these things. Just keep that in mind, okay? However, my battle with depression was just about to begin. Around the 2nd semester of 4th grade, a now 10-year-old Ian would make his first attempt at suicidal behavior. It's not pretty, so sit tight. Okay. I held a knife to my chest. While I never actually stabbed myself, This behavior had me placed on a special PHP program at the same place my brother and I saw a psychiatrist. I was admitted to this PHP program a few more times up until I was 11, during my 5th grade year. Shortly into my 5th grade year, I suddenly went into this crazy rebellious phase, and began to have serious anger issues, surprisingly early on compared to the other aspects of puberty. However, this rebellious phase would worsen along with my anger issues until it was clear that I was becoming increasingly manic in behavior. Once again, the first person to notice this was my mother. Now, here's the kicker. She noticed this as far back as, again, when I was 5. I would begin to have meltdowns. Luckily, I only ever had meltdowns at home. I also made 2 new friends during my 5th grade year. We'll call them AJ and M. AJ was the kid I got to know every day when we went to the nurse together during 4th grade. He was the one that convinced me to bring M into our little group. You see, he was new and had no friends. The 3 of us were a great team, of course. I saw myself as the leader because of my rather large ego at the time, possibly a result of my lack of self-image previously and a sort of self-conscious retort against that, but I'm not sure. But unfortunately, AJ announced to us during field day that he would be moving to another city. Not too far east of where we were, but still distant enough to make it hurt. Of course, I was heartbroken the first time I got put into a mental hospital as a result of one of my meltdowns that proved to be too much for my parents to handle. Why was I upset? Because it was a day or two before the last day of school that year. I remember begging, pleading with the doctor there to let me start that Saturday, just so I could see my friend one last time to say goodbye. Of course, I was told that I had to be admitted then and there, so I never got to say goodbye to AJ. In all honesty, it's something I still beat myself up over to this day. I had trouble forgiving myself for that, truly. But other than that, I ended the school year in an otherwise peaceful manner. However, this peace would not last. That following summer, I would have another serious meltdown and get sent back to the mental hospital. I would spend another week or so there and leave on yet another med. I should also mention that I met my new psychiatrist there during my first day, but he wasn't my new psychiatrist until after my 3rd stay. I started 6th grade feeling a little alone, but seeing M in the hallway shortly into the year was enough to put me at ease. I remember going up to him, greeting him out loud in front of everybody, and giving him the biggest hug imaginable. It just felt right, okay? Things were starting to look up, but just like before, I had another meltdown. This time, just a few days before my 12th birthday. I even kicked a hole in my wall in my room. We had a bunk bed back then. It was a sad day that day for me. And, unfortunately, my mother ultimately had no choice but to call the police, which led to me arriving at the mental hospital for the 3rd time, now in handcuffs. The 3rd time was the charm, luckily, though, and I would finally get put on a med that would go on to work wonders for me: lithium. I would leave the mental hospital and go back to school now with a seemingly perfect life. Now, things were looking up for me. This ultimately proved to be short-lived, as I would enter junior high and suffer serious reflux problems as a result of serious stress. The stress would also affect my academic rank, as I was either quick to fall from the top. I went on to create my YouTube channel on September 6th of 2013. I would then upload my first video on December 26th of that same year.
Hey guys, Ninjago Brooklyn's here for a new Minecraft Let's Play. Well, not exactly new, but my first Let's Play. So, what we're gonna be doing is we're basically gonna be playing Minecraft until I've heard about the end. So once we reach the end and basically complete the game, then I don't know why I just did that, but then we'll pretty much just start on a new series, probably Gary's mod. I'm not quite sure. I'm lagging a little. I don't care. I'm awesome. Yeah, whatever.
It wasn't all bad, as I reunited with my friend Kay. who I secretly had a crush on. She and I were in the same class since 3rd grade, though she went to a different school for 5th grade. But we were back in the same class starting 6th grade. We ended up at the same junior high, and since we were both on the gifted track, now called the pre-AP track, we shared more classes. This was something that I unfortunately didn't share with M, as he was not in any AP classes. Though we saw each other at lunch and in the halls, and like 1 or 2 other classes, but overall this did put a bit of a rupture in our relationship a bit. We saw each other less and thus communicated less. We're still friends to this day, but it's not the same. However, the beginning of my true hell was just around the corner. Everything went to shit starting with my 8th grade year. Starting with my mother getting so sick and being unable to work, let alone do just about anything on her own. My father had to focus his attention on her now as well, leaving my brother and me with less care from him. This would have been no problem, but I had another new mental illness developing. I began to borrow trouble from my mother. And for those who don't know, borrowing trouble basically means getting worried over someone else's problems, like seriously worried. And that is a key trait of anxiety. But this wasn't the only problem. The depression that had previously been subdued with meds was growing. And it was growing very quickly. For those who don't know, mania is part of a 2-part mental condition called bipolar disorder. Not to be confused with borderline personality disorder, which has the acronym BPD, just to be clear. The other part of bipolar is depression. But also it comes with mood swings and a lot of other things that are just awful to deal with. There are specialized depression meds and mania meds that just deal with bipolar. This, along with the anxiety, caused me, a scared and frightened 14-year-old, to begin lashing out at those around me, including my peers. I did some things I'm not proud of during this time. While I really don't want to go into too much detail, here's just an example. I wound up pulling scissors on one of my peers that I'd otherwise been friendly with up until that point. Yeah, I'm not proud of that. Or more importantly, the fact that this would be where I began to act very LGBTQ phobic. From 2016 all the way to early 2019. Just like before, it's all because I grew up in a Republican state, I wasn't informed about things properly, I was ignorant, and nothing more. But the fact that I supported Trump still bites me. I can't believe I was that stupid.
Hey Ian, you maybe want to tone it down on the swearing? I mean, I know you hate this guy, but geez, you've never talked like this before.
Sorry to bring up politics, I just had to mention that. But just remember, I grew up in Texas before the state started to really turn blue. Remember, I'm a 2002 baby. I'm part of Generation Y. Refer to the on-screen chart for more info on generations. However, despite the shit platter I had been served, one thing served to reassure me time and time again. I had one beacon to look towards for hope, my older brother. During this tough time when my mother couldn't exactly be a parent, my brother stepped in to be a light for me to look towards, but this will prove to be a detriment down the road. Additionally, I stopped doing YouTube on September 10th of 2016, all because of the chaos in my life at that time. However, I did go on to discover a very special YouTuber towards the end of my 8th grade year, a YouTuber who influences me to this very day. I am of course talking about DatPags, a now college graduate who creates heavily edited comedy gameplay montage-like videos. You can clearly see where I've taken inspiration from him in my video style. Go check him out. He serves as the inspiration for my current video style, as I just said, so he's worth a watch. I started my 9th grade year in the same high school as my older brother. For context, we hadn't been in the same school since my 3rd grade year, so this was something special for me. However, this would put even further strain on the relationship between us, as I would go on to embarrass him constantly due to, let's just say, mental lagging. But that wasn't my only concern, as the undiagnosed anxiety and worsening depression would continue to torment me, leading to me developing a very, very, very dumb strategy. If I can't see it, it can't hurt me. That was the mindset I developed as I ignored these worsening mental illnesses throughout my 9th grade year. And now, the pieces began to line up for something far worse. But there was one thing I neglected to mention up until now. I was 15, and yet I hadn't really hit puberty yet. Because I looked and sounded like I was 10, and mentally I was about 12 or 13. So, I saw an endocrinologist around my 15th birthday, October 18th, 2017, and we agreed to have me receive testosterone injections once a month for the next 4 months. After the last injection in February of 2018, I wouldn't really notice much of a difference right then and there, but it would come later. I also had an incident where I fell off a treadmill at the gym with my older brother. I wound up in a sling for a few weeks, but there was no permanent or serious damage. So in the end it was rather pointless, but hey, I get to keep the sling now. I finished my freshman year and got a Nintendo Switch for a graduation present, which was very nice. But that didn't stop the summer from being unenjoyable. My brother and I kept fighting over almost everything until in August, just before my brother moved out into a dorm for college. We had a massive fight, unlike any before, except this time, my parents stayed out of it the entire duration. The fight ended with the two of us going from a strained relationship to a very awkward relationship for the following year and a half. But now, the pieces were all in place. I was entering my sophomore year with a monstrous depression, undiagnosed anxiety, now worsening ADHD, seriously fluctuating hormones that were influencing my mental state constantly, a missing beacon of light, a serious amount of stress, and just the worst luck imaginable. Nevertheless, I entered with what little joy I had, even starting back up my YouTube channel on August 7th, 2018.
Sega.
Hello everybody, this is the 4th time I've done this intro, but I'm getting tired of it. Welcome to me failing at Sonic Generations. So if my controls work this time.
However, no one could have anticipated what was about to happen to me. I continued with my YouTube channel into October and November of 2018.
Hello everybody, I've been inactive lately, but not need for introduction really. Today, it's a reaction video. Yay. I've been a little under the weather lately though, so yeah. But today is going to be I will be kind of splitting this up into parts as I see fit. The Super Smash Bros. YTP collab by Chef Less Productions. I will leave the link in the description and the time at which I stop each. It's uploaded September this year, 2018, so I'm a bit late, but not too late. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
I also began to venture into watching more shows, including anime. I went through a rough time before I finally found where my tastes lie. I would make friends with someone online for the first time. Louison and I slowly became friends over the span of a few months. Louison grew to be one of my closest friends. I also made a friend in my pre-P Algebra 2 class. Now, AV and I sat at the same table in that class, but we never really interacted on a deep personal level until one day, when I was talking about how excited I was for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. AV asked if I wanted to play together in Super Smash Bros. Wii U Online, to which I said yes. He's kicked my ass every time we've played since then, but nonetheless, we ultimately became battle buddies and eventually friends. However, during this time, I would begin to waver in taking my medication around November. About 3 weeks in, the results of this would truly begin to show, as my suicidal thoughts began to return, to the point where I only had just enough sense to essentially barter my own life with myself. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, and it kinda is, but it's the truth, I swear. I would negotiate things like, hey, that Pag's uploaded a video today, so if I let you watch this, do you promise not to kill yourself for a week? To which I would respond with something like, okay, sure, that sounds good. Now, I just need to say one thing. Pags, if you're at all watching this, thank you. I'm pretty sure you saved my life. I know this might be weird for you, but I think it's true. I think your content is what kept me here, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, by the end of December, I was 100% unmedicated. My hormones spiked at the highest they ever would. I was lashing out at almost everyone around me. I was skipping classes daily. And my depression, anxiety, mania, and ADHD were all going crazy in my head. I could barely think straight. It was like my brain had flatlined but was going frantic at the same time. It was like I felt every emotion at once but none simultaneously. My head wouldn't stop screaming no matter what I tried, and I felt absolutely helpless during the whole ordeal. I just wanted to scream and cry. Something. There had to be something I could do to stop the noise. I was pleading, practically begging every day to make the pain end. It felt like nothing made sense to me anymore. I felt myself slipping every day further and further away from sanity. Please, oh please, make it stop. I would mutter myself under the covers each night, but it didn't matter. Nothing mattered anymore. I wanted so badly to shoot myself in the head just so I could stop the noise. And honestly, a part of me wishes I had back then. In all honesty, it was practically a miracle that I managed to hide this at school for the most part. My parents were so overwhelmed to the point of almost sending me to residential treatment. Thankfully, by the blessings of whatever God is out there, they managed to get me properly medicated again starting in March. When it was all over, I could only ask one thing. What the hell just happened? Now was the time to deal with the consequences of my actions during the crash. Starting with truancy court, credit recovery, and retaking classes. In the end, I wound up failing 2 classes and lost credit for 1, all during the second semester. I received a summons to truancy court because of all my unexcused absences during 10th grade. The judge was totally stupid, freaking ignoring a note from my psychiatrist, just glazing it over. Bitch. But I was told that I would need to attend both sessions of summer school that year, June and July, and that I would need to attend a number of family therapy sessions with my parents to work on respect. My counselor worked with my parents and me to figure out what classes I'd be taking during the summer school. You see, the 2 sessions are for different things. The June session is to take classes to get ahead, while the July session is to retake classes that one failed or to do credit recovery for classes you didn't fail but only lost credit for. It's hard to explain how they determine failing a class versus only losing credit for a class, so just take my word on this. It's rather complicated. You take 1 class in the June session, but 2 in the July session. We worked out that I'd retake Pre-P Algebra 2 and do credit recovery for Pre-P English 2, but the credits for both classes would be counted as regulars as a punishment of sorts. At least that's how I see it. The plan was then to have me take the second semester of Pre-P Chemistry again during my 11th grade year, which led to the idea for me to take IPC, Integrated Physics and Chemistry, for the June session to help with the chemistry for the second semester of 11th grade. I totally breezed through the IPC class, even having my phone on for like the majority of this class. Half my attention was on the phone, half was on the class, but the teacher didn't care because I got my work in and it was correct. That class is so insultingly easy, it's ridiculous. But maybe that's what I needed after what I just been through. Maybe I needed a breather. Then I went through the July session, where I actually managed to complete the English credit recovery so quickly, 6 days, out of the 3 weeks that we have, which allowed me to retake chemistry as credit recovery, and thus allowed me to take physics during my 11th grade year entirely instead of splitting it up. On the matter of family therapy, we went through about 4 sessions, I think, before we were able to stop. Therapists understood that we didn't really need to be there. I had a period of self-reflection during the summer of 2019 and began to set up a series of changes that I would begin to implement during the following school year. However, I wouldn't be going through all of this alone. School year started off a tad bumpy, as I still needed to end up doing credit recovery for IB English 3 and Pre-P Pre-Calculus, while I would have to take AP Physics 1 all over again, because credit recovery isn't offered for AP classes. I should also mention that on January 27th of 2019, I read a Twitter poll asking if I should watch My Hero Academia. I'm going somewhere with this, just trust me. I would find myself heavily relating to one of the main characters in particular, Katsuki Bakugo. And for those who don't know, Bakugo is a character that starts off as an absolute asshole, somebody that you just hate. But he slowly becomes a good person over time. And, though it hasn't been animated yet, he's even apologized for his actions as of right now in the story. I'm sorry if I spoiled that for you, but it's important for this story. Being able to see a character like him, immediately after the trauma I experienced, was great for me, for therapeutic reasons, because it made applying my lifestyle and personality changes easier, because I was able to look and see, hey, he's like me, so I need to change this about me to be less like that. It really did help. It's weird. I told you I was going somewhere with this. Now, one of the main changes I implemented was to be more accepting of LGBTQ plus groups. The main problem before was, like I said, I was ignorant. But I learned, and I'm still learning, even though I'm part of the LGBTQ plus community now. And I mean, I got out of my racist phase mostly thanks to my two closest friends being POC. AJ was mixed and M was black. I don't really need to bring that up, but just being around them helped me. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing. It's like how representation of a character just ever so mildly helps somebody. And the representation is important, people. Alright, back to the topic at hand. I guess you could say being around them at school every day helped me see the light. I'm a bit corny, but it's kind of true. In fact, every school friend I made up until my junior year of high school were all PLC. Speaking of friends, Joe was the new one. Anyways, another big change was developing a personality. You see, I had pretty much gotten by in life with a surface level personality consisting of being nice and endearing, and that was about it. I'm still very creative, that partially thanks to the ADHD. I understand hardship more than I ever did, and so much more. What I'm trying to say is that I'm much more interesting to get to know. I have a lot more to me. Anyways, after my 17th birthday, I made a plan with my counselor to graduate early, specifically in August, meaning that I would have to take all required 12th grade courses over the summer of 2020. However, I did encounter one major problem. I still had undiagnosed anxiety, but I was put on gabapentin shortly into my junior year. But then, I had an anxiety/panic attack over the fact that I was having an anxiety/panic attack during my physics class. Again, thanks to 9th and 10th grade, I was great at hiding it from everybody, but it was distracting me from class, and I had to get up and pretend I'd use the restroom just to clear my head. It was crazy. This resulted in me ending up on the highest possible dose of gabapentin. This has one very unfortunate side effect. My memory is essentially now a gelatin substance. What I'm saying is that I have very shit memory now. But it's like so stupid. It's so stupidly specific for certain things. Like, I can recite a Lord of Ninjago lore in like 10 minutes, but I could not tell you what I had for dinner 3 days ago. It is the dumbest thing. I should also note that I was about 15 mentally at this point, turning 16 slowly. On November 2nd, I record a video and proceed to edit it, ultimately uploading it on November 7th. This video would change my channel forever. I am of course talking about Boatman, Scribblenauts Unlimited, Episode 1. The same month, I would talk with my parents about possibly getting a hamster. This was an idea I originally had way back when I was 9. Instead of as a pet, I viewed it now as emotional support, because I don't like the term pet. I think it's not dehumanizing, but it's just wrong to say, because it feels like it's putting someone down. Because that's me. And I would get to meet my sweet baby girl on December 20th of that year. And again, like I said before, I held a poll and everything about her name, and Nexus was the one that won. Nexus came into my life that day, and from that day onward, she gave me a serious boost emotionally throughout the following year. I hit the ground running at the start of 2020. Going through credit for IB English, I worked so hard to fix any problems with them from 2019. So hard, in fact, that my pre-AP pre-cal teacher took notice and actually went back to give me credit for the first semester of pre-cal. Though I never got to ask him why. I guess I essentially started a whole character arc in 2020. I was doing so well in everything, but then, you can all guess what happened next. After spring break got extended again, the lockdown was officially declared, classes moved to online. They were almost insultingly easy. Almost. I began to pump out videos much more frequently for YouTube, starting a streak of uploads at least once every month. More importantly, I would come to realize that I was both pansexual and demisexual in early March. But I didn't come out until mid-March, so my mother, followed by my older brother during a road trip together, then online on March 28th, and finally to my father in early April. Also, go watch our Lego Batman series, it's great. Episode 3 came out last month, so go watch it. It's awesome. Anyways, back to the main point. Afterwards, I finished 11th grade and readied myself to take English 4 and Physics 1 over the summer. Started the June session online with the first half of English 4, which I cleared through in a few days. Then I cleared through the second half just as quickly. This led to me taking Physics in June instead of July, and I steamed through it quickly as well. In the end, I got all 3 classes done in less than 2 weeks. I also continued my new YouTube channel direction, managing to get videos out at least once a month, like before. This was all thanks to a new light that I could look towards, being Nexus. However, I did fail to realize that I had merely put her in the place of where my older brother once stood, meaning that once she was gone, I was gonna have a bad time. Also, my memory slowly got worse as time began to lose all meaning to me during the lockdown. While the original plan was for me to graduate in August of 2020, I had 2 more classes that I needed to take, but couldn't during the summer for some stupid reason. They wouldn't let me do it after I already started. Thus, I entered what would be my final semester of grade school. My senior year was spent entirely online. However, the courses were much more fleshed out compared to my junior year, and as such, I wouldn't be breezing through anything this time. And there were 2 courses in particular that offered a serious challenge for me. AP Government/Politics and AP Macroeconomics. These were the required courses for graduation, but that wasn't all. Those 2 courses, specifically the AP versions, were the hardest classes offered at my high school. I really struggled in both classes, but especially AP Macro. This is the first time I felt the kind of stress I felt back in my sophomore year, as my ADHD began to act up again, leading to me going off of Fogelin in September. Now, keep in mind, this was a med that I had been on since I was 8, nearly a decade. However, I would soon realize what the real reason for me going off the med was. Additionally, the hardest part of my senior year was yet to come. October comes along, and I begin to plan out a big live stream on my 18th birthday, though the date would change to the day before because my brother reached out about spending the day with me on the 18th, and that personally took priority to me. However, on October 12th of 2020, the worst imaginable thing happened to me. Nexus passed away. This happened at easily the worst time possible, as it was just under a week before my 18th birthday, a day that I had so badly wanted her to be able to see. And during the hardest part of my senior year, right when the AP classes were getting tougher. It even interrupted my streak of at least once a month uploads. In the end, I was left with the decision. Take the time to grieve now, and risk falling behind in my classes, thus meaning I'll probably have to retake those 2 classes during the second semester of my senior year, thus costing me more sanity, or take a certain dumb strategy from my 9th grade year and ignore the grief until I finish my classes. You may call me dumb, but I chose to ignore the grief for the time being, albeit at the cost of how severe the grief was, as ignoring it would allow it to worsen. I would get up to finals, where I would receive a warning for something yet to come, as the day before the first day of finals, I would have a serious ADHD tremor, as I was trying to get into my sleeping bag on the floor. I slept on the floor because it was uncomfortable and it helped me woke up in the morning. However, it wasn't really an ADHD tremor. it was something else. I would go through finals and manage to pass every class. I even brought my AP government grade to an A, but for AP macro, I passed with a 71. By only a few hairs, I'd say. I finally did it, and of course I was happy. This is something I've been waiting for 13 years. But now, I was faced with another choice. Do I take the time to grieve now, including during the holidays, thus risking ruining them for not only myself, but those around me? Or do I continue to push the grief aside, allowing it to grow further, so I can have fun at the holidays with my family? Once again, I push the grief aside. But this time, it's something I don't regret because those 2 days were just amazing. I've said in the past that I haven't really truly felt happy since the second semester of my 6th grade year, when I had that seemingly perfect life. But on Christmas and my mother's birthday, when my brother visited both days for like the whole day, and we had just fun together, we party and shit, I was just so happy. And I know that if she had been there, I would have been as happy as I was back in 6th grade. But it was close. It was so incredibly close to that happiness. And honestly, it may have been a dumb strategy, but it let me feel happy again. I remember just smiling just because, why not? Truly miss those times when life was much clearer, when things were happy. Now was the time to grieve following the holidays. At the start of 2021, I would begin my grieving process, but only now I was additionally frustrated with myself at my inability to create content now that I was done with school. Because I figured if I finished school, maybe I would be able to make content despite her being gone, but it didn't work. But I would later find a culprit for my worsening ADHD, one of the main reasons I was unable to create content. The second antidepressant I was put on during my junior year, Wellbutrin. However, I wouldn't find my real reason to get off the med until February, while assembling the LEGO Ninjago City Garden set that I had ordered from LEGO.com about a week prior to this event. I began to have increasing tremors, making me just almost cry in frustration at being unable to build the set. It was like the kind I had back in September, but much worse. And I just thought it was ADHD acting out again, but boy was I wrong. As a day or so after that tremor started, I stood up after working on the set some before I would find myself zoning out, falling over, as I suffered my first ever seizure. We almost immediately pinned the seizure to my second antidepressant. And at my next psychiatrist appointment, I was blacklisted from taking that med ever again. However, in the following months, I wasn't really depressed. In fact, in March, I was able to record several videos. But in April, I was back to being ultra depressed. So much so that the self-loathing I had towards my inability to edit videos was back with a serious vengeance. I managed to start on the Pyramithrin Smash video, and even managed to finish it, upon which I followed up with my video, Grief, which I uploaded on April 29th, and I published my Pyramithrin video on May 2nd. Later that month, I got employed at a grocery store, and I worked there for about 2 weeks, give or take, maybe a little more. And it was really nice because I started to learn confidence because I'd been so worried about fucking up a job that this was finally something that I felt confident in. You know, grab carts, bag groceries, mop the floor. It was nice. Of course, I made some mistakes, like any person working for the first time ever would. You see, I wasn't able to get a job after my sophomore year because I was taking a class in my junior year that prevented me from looking for a job because it had me stay there until 5. And it was an alternating schedule, A-B day. You may have heard of it. Where A day is like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and B day is Tuesday, Thursday. Then the next week B day is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and A day is Tuesday, Thursday. It's like that, back and forth, over and over. That's so hard for a work schedule. So I just didn't look for a job. And then, by the time 12th grade happened, COVID was abound, but I was thinking about looking for a job. I even applied to a different Kroger store in my city, but apparently I wasn't what they were looking for, but somehow that other place, I was. I think they were desperate, because truth is, there was a day after I got let go, because I just wasn't a fit. So, there was a day, sometime afterwards, where they were closed, and they had a note on the door for the store. Closed due to lack of staff. My mother's friend found out about this, told my mother. My mother told me, and she railed into them saying, you grab every staff member you have and pay them overtime. That's the main thing. They were so afraid of paying overtime. The one schedule I got, only one person had overtime, and it was like 2 hours. Everybody else was 40 hours or less. Also, yeah, I applied for a part-time position, and that was made clear to me. But then they gave me full-time hours, and I was not okay with that. So, yeah, of course, I made some mistakes too, I will acknowledge that, but they made a lot too. They never took me aside and said, hey, you're making these mistakes, can you fix that? They never did that for me, they just expected me to know better. It's like some people on, like, Twitter and stuff, it's like, oh, you should have known better. Well, I didn't! Why didn't you tell me? In an educational way. Okay, sorry about the rant. Sorry, I just, that gets my nerves a bit. Alright, I tried not to let losing the job get me depressed. But it still did. But a few days later, on June 3rd, I walked the stage during my graduation ceremony that year, 2021. And it really did help me push past the trauma further than I had before. Since then, I have worked to get better mentally, though I did come extremely close to a second crash when I ended up so depressed that I skipped my meds 2 days in a row. But on a positive note, I managed to get my once-a-month video streak back. Yeah, life's tough right now, but I vowed to live on because I know Nexus would want me to. And I'm not giving up on that goal anytime soon. I also finally took a driver's ed class on September 4th. It was all in one day for 7 hours. In the end, I got my learner's permit and I'm currently getting prepared to take my driving test. I want to be sure I'm 110% prepared for it. I make sure to visit Nexus out in my backyard every day that I remember to. But it's usually the same things that come out of my mouth. Hey girl, I'm doing alright, I miss you a lot, I love you more than anything, and so on. I don't mean to make, it seem boring, but it's always the same because I feel like there's nothing else to say. I do update her on events though, and I do it all because I really love her. When I say that I love her more than anything, I really do mean it. Now I know this video is called Life in Constant Adversity, but it almost sounds like my life is a lot better. Well, that may be partially true, but I'm still off with fluctuating mental illness that surpassed my medication's abilities due to fluctuating hormone levels. I mean, heck, sometimes it just feels like I'm just going through the motions of the crash, but I'm just fully medicated this time. It still sucks. The point of this video is just like the grief video, to help me get past what's happened, but also to share with others what has happened, to share my story. Maybe I can help you by sharing this story, and if I can, it's good to hear. And I hope by getting all of this out there, I can heal as much as possible from what has happened to me, from the things that I've kept locked away in my heart for the past 5 years that I'm only now letting out. And I hope that by getting this out as well, that I provide context as to why those old videos, some of which you saw during this video, clips of it, aren't visible on the channel, or why I may delete older tweets that I've made. It's because I want to be certain, absolutely certain, that I'm conveying the person I really am to everyone. While there's now the risk of having to face the cancer that is cancel culture, well, fantasies there. Because the stuff that doesn't reflect me as a person anymore being out there thanks to this video, it's ultimately a better safe than sorry situation, if you catch my Joy-Con drift. However, to anyone that may have seen me during the time period from 2016 to 2019, heck, even before then if I hurt you, or if I hurt you in any way at all, please, let me know. I owe you the deepest apology, and I wish to make amends if you will let me. But I also owe an immense thank you to my friends that knew me during that time period from 2016 to 2019, and chose to stick with me. Well, there it is. As of today, I'm now 19, and that's my life story so far up to being an adult. A lot of this was based on memory, but again, like I said, my memory became mush after my 11th grade year, so I had to rely on some testimony from family and a few friends here and there. But I want to thank them too for helping me out. And if anyone asks, yes, I got permission to use all those photos to show their faces. Don't worry. But I didn't want today to be entirely a depressing day, so I have another video that's coming out today. May already be out, who knows? But we party. It's a video I recorded on my birthday last year, but I felt like it was only right to upload it this year on my birthday, so hope you all enjoy. It's a 30-minute special. So, shorter than this video at least, am I right? But yeah, I might be doing a live stream today also, on October 18th, 2021. Who knows? But yeah, keep an eye out on the event I do. So, it's been a fun ride so far, honestly. I know that there have been troubles, but I think those troubles helped me to be the person I am today, and I'm happy with that. So, thank you all for everything. Dear God, the script is 10 fucking pages long! Ah! And I mean, look at me in 8th grade when I was 14, and look at me in 12th grade when I was 18. How did I get hotter? I never thought that was gonna be possible for me. What? Okay, but in all seriousness, before you go, please do consider leaving a like, subscribing, and ringing that bell. It means so much, and it really helps out the channel. Right now, I feel like I'm in a place where I'm putting a lot of effort into videos, but I'm not getting the return that I want from it. So it would really help out if you could engage with the video and promote it in YouTube's algorithm, please, and thank you. I have lots of videos like my Wii Party upload that are all over my channel. It's the majority of my content. Again, links will be down in the description for people like Pags. And again, Pags, if you're watching this, thank you so much. But other than that, I don't really have anything else to say other than I hope everyone here has a great day. And I hear the outro called, so I'll see you all next time. Deuces.